Olshanetsky. Welcome to the World Championships, gentlemen. Thank you.
It looks like Lithuania's Euchias is coming out for his opening attempt. Now we have 3 juniors in the field, and he is one of them. So young lifter, 151 kilos is loaded on the barbell.
All right, here we go.
It's a pretty solid opener. And I was talking the other day, Chad, about how it's really easy to lose perspective on how large or small these lifters are. But if you see Euchias grab the barbell collar to collar, that means he literally cannot get a wider grip on the bar if he wanted to. Kind of gives you an indication about how large these gentlemen are.
Yes, these are very large men, and you're right, on camera like this, it's hard to notice how big they are if they're big, and it's hard to notice how small they are if they're small. So it goes the same in the other direction.
Coulet taking the same weight. France, first attempt.
Another excellent opening attempt there.
That's pretty good speed under the bar. Sometimes super heavyweights have a tendency to obviously be large and continue to get as large as they can because it's an advantage. But you always want to see that good speed and snap that a lot of the lighter athletes have, and the good supers do maintain that nice speed.
No doubt about it. I'm still always amazed, as long as I've been doing this, about how quick these big guys and gals can move, through their extension and pulling under the bar. So it's always awesome to see that.
Roininen from Finland, another lifter taking 151 kilos on his opening attempt. That's pretty easy.
Pretty solid. There was maybe a slight little movement in that right elbow there, but not enough to cause any concern there. 3 white lights.
And we will just officially letting you guys know, trying actively to bring these competition histories to you all. Some of these athletes are young and don't have much international experience, where others actually do. So we're going to try and pull that up for you, at least by the clean and jerk, so we have a little bit more information. Now, the automatic increase to 152 kilos is on the bar. We imagine that he will bump and increase that weight. A 1 kilo jump for a super heavyweight is literally nothing. And exactly as we anticipated, he has gone up, and the lifter becomes David Leety from New Zealand.
Absolutely, yeah. I did do a little bit of Instagram stalking before I came, so I do have a little bit of competition history, but more so dirt or that
Hey,
kind of thing.
that's
We
just
love
as
that kind of
good,
thing.
man. That's
Absolutely.
just as good. And the bar has been loaded to 156 kilos. David Leety has bumped up again, as athletes do, with their opening attempts, depending on how things feel and how the field is moving. Um, we're constantly trying to buy for more time, especially your super heavyweights. Now, we mentioned that the snatch overall as an expenditure of energy is quite low. So you won't see too much toying with the numbers simply to get more rest as you do in the clean and jerks. But that being said, super heavyweights need a little bit more rest time because they're just using so much more energy to move those loads.
Absolutely, yeah. As a 77 kilo lifter, speaking about rest and jumps and that kind of thing, I got to in international competition where I would rather just take a 2 or 3 kilo jump because that allowed me to get back out there a little bit sooner as opposed to having a long rest.
Right. And Yukius from Lithuania is up for his second attempt. First attempt quite strong. Maybe he got a little hurried there. You saw him, these athletes, when they're glancing to the right, they're looking at that clock that's on the far right side of the stage, and the lifter must lift the barbell past his or her knees before that clock runs out. And he gives a little glance to the right, realizes he doesn't have much time, and he kind of went. Perhaps that was just enough distraction to allow him to miss that. Koule's being called for his second attempt as well at 156 kilos.
I did see that Kool-Aid did. Oh, back to that here in just a second.
That's another good rep by Kool-Aid. What was that, Chad? I'm so interested. Since you
At,
said Instagram stalking and
yeah,
dirt, I'm like, please continue.
absolutely. No, I was looking at the wrong one, so I'm going to have to bring that back to us here in a little while. But yeah, that was a solid attempt there. I think even better than his opening attempt.
I
So I'm looking
agree.
forward to seeing what he puts on the bar next.
I agree. And Roinanen is coming out for 156 kilos also. So far, these first three lifters are matching one another lift for lift.
Now, I did see that he is a weightlifting coach back in Finland and considers himself an amateur weightlifter, surprisingly enough.
Interesting. Well, he's doing pretty well on the world stage here. Oh, man. Could have gotten a little bit better of a pull on that. I'm afraid he cut it a little bit. It is a little bit difficult to tell straight away from that live shot. This replay is really, really helpful. I don't know about you, Chad, but when I look at my lifter's lift, I want to see them from this three-quarter view. Usually gives me the most information about what just happened. It looks like he just kind of backs away from the bar a little too early there.
Absolutely, you can see most everything from the front, most everything from the side, from that exact angle you were talking about. Very rarely do I look straight on or straight to the side, depending on if there's something more specific I need to see. But yeah, that tells a really good story. But as far as that miss goes, yeah, I think it was just a matter of being a little bit disconnected on the pull under there. And usually that's kind of a focus thing. It's really easy to lose focus for a split second in any competition and training, but especially on the world stage like this. You get ahead of yourself for a split second, and with the weights that we're trying to lift, it's not going to go well.
Right, right. The snatch is about precision, and it looks as if he's happy to stay at this weight, and he's got a 2-minute clock Doesn't look like he's going to need any more time. Again, if this was a clean and jerk, you would have him probably adding a kilo to the barbell simply just to get that extra rest, but he's going to be rested for this snatch.
Absolutely. Looks like he's already ready to go.
It was a little bit better of an attempt, but not quite there today. And he's credited with 151 kilos on his first attempt. Now I believe Collet is going to come up for his third and final attempt. I believe he wants, oh, correction. It said 157 kilos, but he's going to be going to 160 kilos. And this does finally bring out David Leety from New Zealand with 158 kilos. Now Chad and I are somewhere behind that Eleiko chalk box there behind the stage, sort of where these athletes come out of this tunnel. And I was thinking the other day, if anything crazy happens and that barbell comes flying backwards, I think we might be killed.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't even think about that, so I appreciate you bringing that up. But
hey, I'm ready to move. I'll dive on top of you so you're not hurt, Chad.
that's one of the reasons I'm still lifting, is just so I can continue with my quick reflexes that I have,
Right.
so I'll be able to jump out of the way pretty quickly, I think.
All right, David Andrew Leety, New Zealand.
David
First attempt.
David is one of the few in the fields that I could not find an Instagram account on. It's very rare to see an athlete or anyone in this world without an Instagram account.
So he actually has a personal life then, that and people that he loves to interact with face to face.
Probably a lot healthier, yes.
Ooh, that was easy.
Very smooth, very fast, exactly what you want to see.
Very, very nicely done by Leety on his first attempt. See that, and talking about that good speed, nice and smooth, boom, fast on the second pull. A little scoot back with the feet, but not too bad, not too bad.
In any case, I'll take that opening attempt success
Any day, any day. Now we have Litvinov, David from Israel, also opening it at 160 kilos. Gets really low there under the snatch. I wasn't expecting it. Usually big guys, the legs and the way they're shaped, even their deep squatting doesn't appear so deep, but he gets down there.
Absolutely, I love seeing that. That gives him that, little extra insurance to be able to save a lift. Whereas if he was stopped a little bit higher, he may not have had the time or ability to make that adjustment.
Right, and on the barbell, 160 kilos remains. This is a clean and jerk territory for me, Chad, and it's really amazing to watch you guys just snatch this. Like, it's not incredibly heavy, which it is.
Absolutely.
Yukius, 160 kilos, third and final attempt. He didn't quite get that 156, but he's confident enough to add weight to the barbell and go for it. Let's see if he can do it. Didn't quite have it. Based on that 156, I'm not I'm not so sure that was a good move, but hey, perhaps it's something he's been able to do in training, or part of a prior plan. You know, sometimes, especially in the B sessions and the C sessions, um, these lifters aren't always going to be jockeying for placement because there's so many more athletes to compete ahead of them. Sometimes they're just going for personal records.
Absolutely. You know, we definitely don't know the whole story, and I've seen a lot of that going on just over the last couple days that I've been here, just watching just athletes missing and then going up a significant amount. And usually it doesn't pay off, but in some cases it has. So.
We have Igor Olshanetsky, 161 kilos, also from Israel, on his opening attempt.
And he is a 2016 Olympian.
That's pretty easy.
Definitely looking really strong with that weight. Saw him a couple days ago, or footage from a couple days ago, doing 150 kilo snatch very easily in the training hall. And typically, you know, what you see is a couple days out, some of these athletes doing somewhere around 85% of their best or what they're planning on hitting here. So seems about right with what we're seeing there.
And it's interesting that he gets a red light from the judge whose angle that camera shares. I didn't really see much, but he made the lift anyway, majority decision. Poulet, this is his third and final attempt, 161 kilos. He's made all 2 of his snatches so far. Hopefully he can get the third.
Yeah, looking very solid, moving very well.
That's a good attempt. You can see he's at max effort there, really fighting to hang on to the barbell. Interesting on another red light, but he's able to get it. Looked okay to me.
Great performance from him, 3 for 3. Yeah, maybe a slight bit of movement there that they saw, but nonetheless, he gets the go for the good lift.
All right, we have Singh Gurdeep coming for his first attempt from India, 165 kilos now on the barbell.
Singh as well with no Instagram account that I could find.
That's all right. That's a nice snatch. I feel like if he goes backstage and opens an Instagram account, he might snag some followers based on that lift alone.
He very easily could, but I'm going to say with what I'm seeing from the 2 that don't have one, I think they should keep doing what they're doing and leave it out of their life, because they're looking really strong, moving really well.
All right, coming on the stage is one of our other junior athletes, Tamas Kadosi. 165 kilos.
Few steps there, but should be another good lift.
Kadosi, 3 white lights. Born in 1997, 3 juniors in the field, as I mentioned.
Yeah, he was actually 3rd in the clean and jerk and total at the European Championships this year. Actually snatched 174 kilos, so it'll be interesting to see where he kind of goes from here.
All right, and this brings up David Andrew Riti for his second attempt. First attempt was incredibly easy. He's bumped 6 kilos. Again, as the athletes get larger, some of these jumps get bigger because the percentage of what they're trying to do is quite low still. 166 kilos on the bar, second attempt.
Once again, very easy. Looking forward to seeing his third attempt.
That weight just looks light. You know, sometimes you could see an athlete who struggles with a bit of strength from the floor or just in the recovery or whatever, but it just looks like it's not heavy.
It looks like he's not having to put any effort into it.
Right,
That's
and I
basically.
cannot relate to that at all.
No, I always enjoyed watching you pull from the floor because it never looked like you were going to make it, and then you always made it.
I was so slow. Oh man. Litvinov, 166 kilos on the bar from Israel, second attempt.
Saw him enjoying some Cali scenery on his Instagram account, so hopefully that relaxation
Hopefully
is.
didn't too much walking.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure he didn't, knowing how
Yeah.
weightlifters think.
He's probably on a scooter or something awesome like that. That nice low position. And he's also stable in that position. Sometimes you see athletes get all the way down in that bottom position. He's clearly an experienced athlete and nice and stable and is able to push straight up on that bar without too much trouble.
Absolutely. You know, him sitting there for a second allowed him to regroup, and that's the benefit and huge advantage of having that good bottom position like that. It's allowing him to lift more weight. Saw him do a 165 kilo snatch in his last heavy training session back home, so I'm sure he's going to be looking for capable of, you know, whatever he puts on the bar here next.
Right. And this brings up Igor Olshanetsky, 167 kilos on the bar, 1 kilo more than his teammate.
This is our 2016 Olympian here.
Did he represent Israel in that games?
I believe so.
They're going to call that back. Little too soft there on the receiving position. Yep, 3 red lights. You can see in the replay when he catches the barbell, he allows it to sink. He loses tension in his shoulders and his elbows. And then he readjusts. It happens very quickly, but that is considered a press out there. He's going to have to tighten up a little bit faster and continue pushing up hard on the bar in order to be successful. It certainly doesn't look too heavy.
No, definitely an experienced athlete, so I think he's going to be able to make a good correction on that and come back out and hit a solid lift.
Right. It appears right now as if Olshanetsky is going to continue at this weight. Clock is ticking.
Looks like he only had a 1-minute clock, so that tells me that there was another athlete at the same weight. The clock started running on that next athlete, and then they changed it. Definitely a new rule, not something that we were used to when we were back in the day when we were doing a lot of international competing. It's taken me a while to get used to it. Still throws me off every time I see it, but it is now a big part of the game.
Yeah, I'm definitely getting my feel for that because many of the rules are evolving. From my competition experience, I think my last competition was the Olympics in Beijing in 2008, so it's certainly been a while for me. All right. Kaidoshi Tamas, 170 kilos from Serbia. Kaidosi, it looks like a little, well, he's rubbing his back there. Maybe it's a little irritated. I did notice a little loss of tension from the floor. Maybe gets pulled over a little bit, doesn't quite get the barbell back where he needs it, and remains just a bit forward on that second pull the whole time. But he does look like his back is a bit irritated, so hopefully that's nothing too serious.
Yeah, I agree. And typically when that happens, when you see a little bit of loss of position or loss of tension, especially when you know that the athlete normally does that very well, that's a very good indicator that the athlete just lost focus from the floor. Maybe their awareness wasn't where it needed to be, and that's definitely going to throw the rest of the lift off. With these kind of weights, you're not going to be able to make up for that up top. So again, I think he's going to be able to hopefully recognize that, make that correction, come out and show us a solid lift. His opening attempt definitely looked more than good, more than enough room there to make this 170.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And again, with these weights, and this is all about efficiency in this lift, that even initiating the lift a split second too soon before you're set causes that load to be shifted forward. And the barbell is increasing in weight, so the lifter is calibrating each time that the barbell is heavy, and you have to calibrate just right. Sometimes you don't. All right, Olshanetsky, 170 kilos, third and final attempt. Just missed 167 kilos. Same issue, just a bit too slow. Strong, it's actually incredible that he's able to have the elbow bend and press it back out. That's what's incredible to me, but unfortunately it's not within the rules.
Yeah, I'm always impressed at that, and it's impressive in a different way because very clean, beautiful technique is very impressive, and to be able to maintain that with heavy weights, but just that strength component that it takes to hold it overhead and muscle it back up. But nonetheless, you know, he's credited with his opening attempt, and he'll move on to the clean and jerks.
Kaidosi already on the barbell for same weight. Clarked it there, lost focus. Maybe just it's a weight perhaps he's never tried, or as we said, he looked like he had a bit of discomfort earlier. So maybe just ready to move on, honestly, from the snatches. Sometimes you just want to be finished.
Right, I think the rhythm of his setup was a little different, a little better for what he needed, but wasn't able to finish it out.
He did actually pull it quite high. Plenty of room to snatch, probably, if he went ahead and attempted it. But we have David Andrew Leete coming up, and this is his third and final attempt. Another nice, respectable jump to 171 kilos from 166. And all his attempts, Chad, have been so easy. You can tell he's an incredibly strong man.
Yeah, he's the definition of the broomstick saying.
Just a little bit out of position. That's a really good example of having the strength and the power to do that weight without a doubt. There's no hesitation in this pull, but just gets out of position, perhaps jumping back there like we saw a little bit on his first attempt. Yeah, and he back in a little bit of jumping back. I'd like your opinion on this, Chad. I think is okay, but you got to take that barbell with you. If you're scooting out from under the barbell, you just lose all your momentum.
Absolutely. If it's consistent, and I would say no more than 2 inches, I think 1 inch is probably more ideal, but absolutely.
All right, Singer deep, second attempt, 172 kilos from India.
Impressive.
It's pretty good. Again, good speed. These gentlemen who are not small people. That's not a small amount of weight either. Very nice attempt. Now, Litvinov from Israel coming out. Sounds, oh, yep. Litvinov, 172 kilos. This will be his third and final attempt. That second attempt I like better than the first attempt. Hopefully he can repeat here.
Yeah, it was definitely more solid, and we've seen him use that good bottom position to his advantage on both of the first 2 attempts. So let's see how this one goes.
Not quite able to get under that fast enough. He gave it a good go, though. 3 red lights.
I'll tell you how difficult, Cheryl, I'm sure you'll agree, how difficult it is, not only in international competition, but any competition, to maintain that focus and intensity through all 3 attempts. Especially if you've made your first 2, that's quite the accomplishment, and it's hard to stay engaged, to go out there and really have the same energy to a heavier weight.
Right, and oftentimes that third lift is a heavier load. It's maybe something you've never tried, and it could be intimidating. That's why you hear a lot of the grunting and the sort of psyching themselves up to give themselves the boost they need to be able to be successful. 175 kilos is on the bar from the Czech Republic, Q Sarah.
Opening attempt.
Just a little miscalculation there. Doesn't look too heavy. Something certainly went wrong, though. And again, it's hard to tell from the front angle. Let's see what happens on the replay. We just got the pull a little bit.
Absolutely, yeah, just went under a little bit too soon. And another thing, as an athlete, that's kind of easy to feel. Definitely not gonna say it's easy to make the correction, but you know, if he's aware of it, he can feel that extension for a little bit longer on his next attempt, and I think he'll be able to make that.
Agreed, and he is following himself here. We have only one more lifter from Germany to come out and attempt this opening attempt.
Yeah, unfortunately, fortunately, we are on our last 2 lifters, and that was the first missed opening attempt. So I'm definitely bummed to see that from him, but excited to see the consistency that they've shown so far on those opening attempts.
Yeah, I've been harping on the opening attempt, and I've missed 1 or 2 important opening attempts. Silly technical reasons, and the atmosphere between this warm-up room and stepping through out of that tunnel onto the stage, the air changes. The energy in the room is completely different, and sometimes you kind of just lose your timing and your rhythm. You get a little distracted, and you need to get the jitters out. Hopefully, you can come back and make this. Sarah with a successful second attempt, and correction made. Still didn't blow it away, but he hesitated a little bit, but he did it. He did what he needed to do.
Yeah, great correction, and I definitely think he's good for more. I think he'll probably go up to 180 or so. But one of the things that I always did and that I have my athletes do is I'll remind them, look, the scenery is different, so make sure you go out there and look around a little bit before you step up to the bar and start focusing, so your eyes are kind of adjusted to that.
Right. Sometimes an athlete wants to just march up to the bar, grab it, and go without even taking a breath, looking around, looking at some people's faces. You know, I used to try to do that. Sometimes I would forget, but I used to tell myself to take my time, and a minute is an eternity when you're up there. You know, that's plenty of time for this athlete to chalk up, walk around, and just get comfortable on the stage.
Yeah, just a few glances. You'll see some athletes walk out and just stare at the bar the whole time, and they don't look up until they start lifting. So.
And Singer deep, third attempt. We saw 2 really nice ones. Just a bit much there. There was a little bit of maybe floating on a second attempt, and he just didn't quite have the pull that he needed. Spends a little bit extra time up in the air, and when it gets really heavy like that, when you're jumping from the floor, in my opinion on it, is that the more time you have off the floor, you're not pushing against the bar at that point. You're in suspended animation, if you will, with the barbell, and you lose a lot of tension, you waste a lot of time. So yeah, and on the heavier weights, it's going to show.
Right, timing through the whole lift is so very important and staying connected to the bar.
And we have Prokhorov for 180 kilos from Germany for his first attempt. That's pretty easy out of Alexei Prokhorov. Very nice opening attempt. That's the kind of attempt we want to see. Let's see the replay there. Very, very nice.
Germans are usually always great technicians. Quite honestly, the positions and the movement look very similar to almost everyone else in this session. So we're seeing a lot of good moving here and nothing different from him.
All right, Kucera coming out for his third final attempt at 180 kilos. He had his miss with that 175, made the 175, up the ante 5 kilos. So let's see what he's got on this. He's going to have to be aggressive. Never want to see anybody running too hard forward in the snatch position with heavy weight. Not good for the old elbows, but not such a bad pull. Let's see what happened. Yeah, it just gets behind the bar and can't make up the distance.
Yeah, again, I think he probably as well went under a little bit too soon there. But I tell you what, I'm glad that went forward and not behind, like you were saying earlier. We are actually behind the stage, so if it's going to go in one direction or the other, that's better for us.
Yes, I choose forward. Prokhorov, 182 kilos. Let's see if he's just buying himself a little bit of time. They do have 2 changes, and he is going up to 185 kilos on his second attempt. First attempt was easy enough, so. And the clock does not run as long as those loaders are on the platform and they have stepped off, the clock resumes.
Once again, those loaders are working really hard this week. It's good to see the hustle.
That's all right. That's all right. It's a pretty good attempt. You know, Chad, one of my favorite parts about he's kind of taking his time off the stage there. Wonder what's going on. Hopefully it feels okay. Looks like it.
I think he's just conserving energy, you know?
Yeah, just taking a mosey off the stage. But my favorite part about competing, Chad, was the fact that I didn't have to load my own barbell. It's literally like up there with winning and everything.
Very true, and in the warm-up room as well, right? In the training, typically you have to load your own weights unless you're like a world champion in maybe like Eastern European country or something like that. You might have your own loaders in training, but yeah, that's definitely a good part of it.
Yeah, I got to go into full-on lazy girl mode, and I loved it.
Why wouldn't you? Why
I
wouldn't you?
know.
I'm assuming he's going to go up a little more beyond this. Yep, he's going to make a couple changes to buy himself a little bit more time. It looks like he is also a weightlifting coach back in Germany. So he's doing his thing here, showing his athletes how it's done, I think.
And the changes will happen a little bit faster than than they used to, because those collars, those big collars on the Alico bar, no longer have to slide off, and the small change plates put on. They're just sliding them right on top, and they stay quite nicely.
Very fortunate for the flow of the competition, but not so much as fortunate for the lifters.
All right, and the bar is loaded to 190 kilos. I imagine that this will be what Prokhorov ends up snatching or attempting to snatch. Looks like he's ready to go.
Definitely capable of this weight. I'm definitely pulling for him to make this. Unfortunately, we only have one make on the third attempt in this session, so I'm pulling for him to be the second athlete to do that.
Oh, I think he got it, Chad. That's very nice. Very nicely done.
Excellent job keeping his head in the game, just consistent, solid all the way through. He'll take that into the clean and jerk, of which we'll be back for shortly.
Yeah, just shortly. Right now we got top 3 in the B category. Prokhorov with that beautiful snatch with 190 kilos.
Athlete, you know, the one out there getting ready and competing out there on that stage, but at the same time, I'm really enjoying just watching things and being a fan, you know.
Right, I agree. Yukius up for his first attempt in the clean and jerk at 180 kilos from Lithuania.
Looking a little shaky overhead there. We're going to have to wait and see what the judges say.
Maybe it's okay. Yeah, there you have it. Didn't really, it was a little bit soft overhead, but had enough control to satisfy the judges.
So
Sorry, go ahead, Chad.
once we get to the clean and jerk, I always like looking for consistency within their movement, but also if they're able to overcome certain patterns. So one of the things that I noticed through all these years is he made one snatch, for example, so it's very common to see an athlete only make one clean and jerk. So just kind of being aware of those patterns and looking out for those and hoping that the athletes don't fall into them.
Right, right. At a competition such as this, and I know we're talking about the B session, but a lot of these athletes are clustered together, and if you're really fighting for one of those top spots, and it seems like a very obvious thing to say, but looking at all these red numbers, all these attempts that are missed, if you simply, as an athlete, focus on making each and every one of the lifts, and you're not worried about what's going to happen in clean and jerks while you're snatching, or not worried about your total while you're clean and jerking, and literally just be present with each one of the lifts and make them, those are the athletes, the consistency, those are the athletes that finish at the top.
Absolutely. I hope everyone just heard what you said and really think about that and let that sink in, because it's so true, and it's that you can only really come to that on your own through a lot of experience. I think for most people that's what it takes, but it's absolutely true, and it's so easy. It's too easy to be on the other side of that and to fall into those traps.
Right, right. Yukius deciding to go to 185 kilos. We did see 1 or 2 changes in there just to buy himself a little bit of time. Super heavyweights have a tendency to need or want, at the very least, a little extra rest time.
I love the way that you worded that. Not necessarily need, but want it.
Is there any way I could sit a little bit longer? Honestly, I mean, you get the juices flowing, but it's a really hard thing to control. Sometimes you want to go out there and make that attempt right away, and your coach is telling you to relax and sit because you're all, you know, just ready to go because there's so much adrenaline. So sometimes telling yourself you need the extra rest time is important too.
Absolutely. All right, second attempt here, 185 kilos. 407 pounds for those that don't speak kilos.
That was a much better clean and jerk. Still a little heavy on that front foot. You know what I noticed, Chad? We were talking about Yukius when he was snatching and his collar-to-collar position on the barbell during the snatches, but it looks as if here he's actually got a more narrow clean and jerk grip than I do. And for the record, I'm not quite as big as this guy, but he's got long arms, you know, and I like my athletes with longer arms if they have the mobility to grab the barbell a little bit wider, just for the extra stability overhead. But you know, techniques are different everywhere you go, and it seems to work okay for Yukius. He made that second attempt a little bit better than his first.
Yeah, I agree. You know, some people are more stable with that more narrow grip, and some people are stable a little bit wider, or more stable a little bit wider. But it definitely seems he's kind of extreme on everything. He's very extreme narrow with his hands on the clean and jerk, and also jumps out pretty wide on the receiving position of his snatch and clean. So that's his technique. He's using it so far really well.
And the barbell is being loaded to 190 kilos, and this is actually going to bring out Litvinov for his first attempt in the clean and jerk from Israel. You notice that nice low position, good mobility in the hips and the ankles in his receiving position in the snatch. Let's see how deep he gets in the clean, because that becomes really helpful. As long as you have the leg strength to stand up, sitting low like that can be an advantage.
Yeah, I don't think that one's gonna go through.
Yeah, it looks like his foot actually slipped a little bit, or sometimes you do it thousands of times hitting that split position, but for whatever reason, every once in a while, the foot kind of gets caught or slips or slides or something.
Yeah, he's definitely a little heavy on the front leg, like you were saying about the previous lifter. And you know, ideally you want the weight more centered than that. Anytime it's on that front leg more than the back, you're either going to have to run forward with it or just drop it forward.
Right, and we're talking about heavy loads, and landing on that front foot and stepping forward with the back foot to recover will work for a short time, but if you want to be a good jerker and you want to do it precisely every time, you got to land 50-50, half the weight on the front foot, half the weight on the back foot, so when you recover, you're pushing straight up on that bar, and you don't need to chase it anywhere. I mean, the platform, the standard Olympic size platform in a competition like this is 4 by 4 meters. I do not recommend using that real estate if you can avoid it.
Easier said than done. Sometimes I've definitely used
Me too.
more than was allowed on a couple of occasions. So. All right, he's back out pretty quickly, ready to go.
Easy cleans.
Much more solid lockout overhead there. That
You
should go
do
through.
see, yeah, much better with the lockout. You can see again, he does land on that front foot, and when he recovers, the back foot just comes forward. And that causes him to have to walk a little bit more forward than he needs to. And he's using a lot of energy when he does that. Front foot, back foot comes forward first. And he's continuing, because that load is being shifted forward when you step forward like that. And needless to say, a little bit less than ideal with this kind of weight we're talking about. Now Yuki is third attempt. I believe he's coming out with this weight. He made his first 2 clean and jerks. Let's see if he can get this last one wrapped up.
Now back to that jerk position real quick. I like what you said earlier about being on the front leg will work, but it's not ideal.
I think he got that. That was better. That was overall that he did sit a little bit in that clean, but his legs are strong enough to stand back up, and that's majority decision. I think that's the right call. I didn't see too much in the elbows, and everything else looked okay.
Absolutely, I would have called that a good lift myself, and I'm very glad to see him overcome that pattern that I was talking about earlier. He went 1 for 3 in the snatch, and then makes a great comeback, going 3 for 3 in the clean and jerk. And you know, anytime I see that, that's to me, it's just so impressive.
Right, and that jerk recovery, he was able to recover properly by moving that front foot back and then bringing the back foot forward. Roinanen, 195 kilos for an opener for his first attempt from Finland. A little too soft there.
Absolutely. See if he can make that correction and come back and show us a successful attempt. Definitely struggled a little bit on the snatches, going 1 for 3. I'm going to hope that he's going to make a comeback here.
Just pushes it right out front. Right out front. Maybe finished to drive a little bit better. Maybe went to the split a little too soon. Really needs to stand up tall and vertical, keep the chest up, and send the bar straight up as opposed to forward. And I'm sure he knows that. And let's see what he chooses to do here. He does have a 2-minute clock because he's scheduled to follow himself.
Yeah, like you said earlier, sometimes athletes will choose to go up 1 or 2 kilos just to give them a little bit more rest, especially on the clean and jerk. For me, I would probably want him to stay here with the way that one looked. And he didn't expend too much energy. I don't think it wasn't a difficult clean for him or anything, so he should be good to repeat this. But looks like he is making a change. 1 kilo here, give himself a little bit more time. What I will say to the listeners is if you guys are learning to lift and you're interested in weightlifting and you want to know how to jerk, you guys should be listening to Cheryl. She's got some of the best technique that I can remember seeing when it comes to the split jerk. So
well, thank you, Chad.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it. You know why that was? Is because I was a lot less strong than everybody. I had to do that thing exactly right. Missed plenty of cleans, too. But the jerk was something I somewhat figured out, and I do love the J. It's all about rhythm and timing. It really is. You have to trust the technique, that it works, and make them all look the same. All right, Roinanen, 196 kilos now, 1 kilo bump from the former attempt. Hopefully he can correct.
Still quite a bit of struggle with the bar overhead.
That's a little wobbly. I'm not surprised. Yep, there you go. Not surprised by that at all. Much better attempt, much better drive, but still had bit of trouble on the recovery.
Yeah, he's going to really need to come back out and just throw with every bit of effort and energy that he has on the extension of the drive of that jerk, and to give himself a chance, because he's missed 2 now. He's going to have to do something quite different to be able to get the bar overhead as much as he needs to, as much room as he needs to really make that solid. He still stayed quite a bit short to me on the drive there, on the end of the drive. I definitely, obviously, something he's capable of, something he's done if he's opening with this weight. Clean is so easy too. It's interesting to see the different things that athletes struggle with. Like you said, you would miss a clean before you would miss a jerk. You know,
Right.
if you could clean it, you could jerk it. For me, I was kind of in the middle there. I missed some cleans and then I missed some jerks. But a lot of athletes, they have that insurance to where if they clean it, they can jerk it. Or like in this case, he's definitely limited by the jerk.
Yeah, and either way, even if it's a mixed bag or one versus the other, it's frustrating. You know, it's frustrating
Absolutely.
to an athlete, and you know, these guys and girls, when they leave the international stage, they go right back home, and they're absolutely pounding away at those weaknesses. You know, doing the exercises they hate because they're not good at them. That's the stuff you have to do to get better. All right, I can hear the audience giving this guy some encouragement. Never want to see anybody miss all 3 lifts, so hopefully he can come back and make this. Roynan, 3rd attempt. Oh, just 3 heavy clean and jerk attempts. You get tired. You know, that 3rd one, it looks like he just had as much as his body can handle. That clean again, to Chad's point, very, very easy.
Yeah, it just didn't have the juice, like you said, just didn't have the juice to finish it out. And unfortunately, he's going to be left with no total. He did have the one snatch make earlier in the session. He's definitely going to be frustrated with that performance, obviously. But there's always something to learn from every single competition, and hopefully he can take something positive from this experience and come back stronger next time.
Absolutely, absolutely. Must always look at the silver lining. It's so important psychologically to stay in this game, in this sport. You have to continually tell yourself, talk yourself up, really, even if it's inside your own head, and maintain confidence and take the lessons where you can get them. All right, Litvinov,
I'm looking forward to
203 kilos. Sorry, go ahead, Chad.
I was just going to say, I'm looking forward to seeing this lift. You know, he missed 190, made 190 on a second attempt, and made this 13-kilo jump. Let's see what he can do with it.
Oh, not quite. Spends a little extra time kind of standing there with the bar. The second jerk with 190 was pretty good, but like you said, Chad, that's a 13-kilo jump. That's a big, big jump to take in a competition, even for a big dude.
Especially on between the second and third clean and jerk there. And I don't know if the big jump was to make up for the miss he had on his first attempt, try to, you know, fall into a weight that he was hoping to hit, but you know, nonetheless, he's credited with 3 for 6 on the day, 356 kilo total.
Olshanetsky, 204 kilos on the bar, Israel. This is his first attempt. He also went 1 for 6 in the snatches. Let's see how his day goes in the clean and jerks.
All All right, that clean was a little harder than I'd like to see on an opening attempt, but seemingly no problems on that jerk. He did get one red light there.
Interesting. I guess, let's see here. And these judges are at different angles, too. So sometimes a judge seated at this angle versus the center judge versus the other side. They're going to see different things. And honestly, it's the majority decision is all that matters.
Yeah, that looked good to me, but that's probably why I'm here and not out there judging.
That's right. I don't begrudge them that. That's
No,
a good point.
not at all.
Coulet, Anthony Coulet. First attempt. One of the juniors in the field. And he's made all 3 of his snatches. He had a great snatch day. Let's see about these clean and jerks.
One of only 2 to do it in the session, and as you mentioned, looking great on his snatches.
And you know what? Everything about that jerk was okay, except how he had to recover from it. Nice dip and drive, good leg strength, and it counts. So he's got his opening attempt locked in, which, despite that rough kind of recovery in the jerk, you got to be happy always to have a make under your belt. And he's safe from what we call bombing out in a competition where you're unsuccessful in all 3 of your attempts. So he's got that first clean and jerk locked in. The pressure is off. He knows he's going to make a total and place in the competition. Now he's just going to put some gravy on top.
Absolutely, especially after going 3 for 3 in the snatch, it would be easy to kind of hold back a little bit, just kind of being a little bit satisfied with that 3 for 3, but he came out and went after it. And like you said, I think he's going to be able to hopefully turn loose a little bit more and have some fun here.
Prokhorov is the lifter that has been called to the platform. The clock is running, 207 kilos. You never know, though, on the opening attempt, but it does look as if he's coming out here to take this attempt. Again, other than Coulet, Prokhorov has actually made all 3 of his snatches, so a great day in the snatch as well. Hopefully he can let the trend continue. That's all right.
Absolutely.
Take that opening attempt.
No
Chad.
doubt. Very similar to snatches in the way that he's moving and the solidity overhead. So looking forward to seeing what he puts on the bar for his next 2 attempts.
I do kind of love the way he's casually moving around here, like off the stage and stuff, you know, moving really slowly. Definitely, and I know it's easy to laugh at, but not moving around too quickly and really kind of taking your time is sort of important. And you can tell he knows how to compete. All right, Singh Gurdeep, this is his opening attempt at the same weight, 207 kilos from India.
Looks so very strong in his snatches.
Right from the floor, Chad. You see him get pulled over a little bit.
Yeah, and again, another example of being impressed by strength. Like you said, he got pulled forward right from the floor, so he was out of position, not in an ideal position. He's strong enough to make up for it. Like you said earlier, you weren't strong compared to the Olympic lifts that you were doing. I fell into the same category, and if I was off from the floor like that, there's no way I would make my clean.
I completely agree with you, Chad. Before it got to his knees, it looked as if he was kind of, and I've never seen him clean and jerk. I noticed it was forward, and yeah, I might have had to put it back down and just give it another go, because I didn't. I either got 3 red lights or 3 white lights. There was no in between because I was never struggling. It either looked great or like I had never lifted weights before in my whole life.
Right.
So that strength is impressive to be able to chase that kind of weight around. Prokhorov is at 208 kilos. However, I expect, let's see what happens here. Obviously expect a change.
Yeah, I'm hoping that yep, there it goes.
And there's the change. He's going to 210 kilos, and this brings out Olshanetsky from Israel with 209 kilos.
Now, once again, he's got that 1 make and 2 misses on his snatches. He made his opening attempt in the clean and jerk. And again, I'm always looking for these athletes to overcome those common patterns that are so easy to fall into.
Yeah, competing is a skill, just like learning the lifts themselves. Competing at this level is a skill, and the only way to do it is to compete. Got an interesting rack position, the barbell on his chest. You notice that it's not super stable, and I was thinking in retrospect he could have been called for that bar sliding off his chest on the first one. So it slides and then he kind of re-racks it. You're not supposed to be allowed for very much movement. When the bar gets racked on your chest, it kind of is supposed to stay there. But that jerk, it looks like his left knee is perhaps bothering him a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. On that first attempt, he did have to readjust it up a little bit from where it was. That one was in a little bit more of a solid position, but hopefully he can make a correction on that jerk and come out and make it.
Coulet, second attempt, 209 kilos, France. Wow.
Nice save there.
Wow, yes, and he seems to be recovering the same way as the first one. Perhaps he has a little imbalance, and he finishes to the left often. He's able to keep those elbows straight, though. That's majority decision there.
I'm always so impressed by junior or youth athletes, young athletes that are able to come on this big international stage like this and be as consistent as he is. And so, you know, it's, you know, you say competing is a skill that takes time to develop, and, you know, they're already there, you know.
Yeah.
And so it's, I think for me, whenever I was young, I did well in competition just because I wasn't aware of, I wasn't supposed to be able to do that well, you know, at that young age or that young competing age. And that's probably where he's at. And what that tells me is that he has room to grow. He's going to be able to be an even better competitor, you know, once he gets more time under his belt.
Tomas Kajdoci, 210 kilos from Serbia, first attempt. Yeah, I agree completely, 100% with that assessment. Looking a little casual on that. Gonna have to fire himself back up. It looks like maybe he got a little dizzy on the recovery. Really easy for the barbell to kind of get you in the throat a little bit, cut off, get those carotid arteries, and you stand up and you start to see spots, but you decide to try to jerk it anyway, and sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't.
Right. No doubt. He's having a little bit of a tough day. You know, made his opening attempt on the snatch, missed 2 at 170 after that. So honestly, he can really turn the day around here if he can come back out and make these last 2 attempts. And I think he's capable of doing that. He's just going to have to really, like you said, get after it and make sure that he's staying in the moment, keeping his head where it needs to be.
Right, and another junior competitor, Kaidochi. So, and I'm learning, Chad, that the competitions, the atmosphere of the youth worlds and the junior worlds, and because the sport is growing in popularity, some of these competitions that we would go to as juniors are so much more huge, and so they're getting what feels like high-level competition experience and still being juniors.
Absolutely. That's a better clean there.
Much better. There you go.
Absolutely. I'm very impressed with his comeback on that, because the way that that first jerk looked, I was a little bit concerned. But absolutely, he's got more in the tank, and I'm hoping that he's going to come out and make that 3rd attempt. And like I said, that's going to save the day.
Yeah, he just looked much more assertive on this, like he woke up and realized that he needed to keep clean and jerking here to stay in the competition, and he did that. Hopefully he'll stay in the game for one more big clean and jerk. Right now, 210 kilos is loaded on the barbell for Israel's. Oh, and we have another change. Kule has just asked for 210 kilos. He will be the next lifter, and this is his 3rd and final attempt.
Yeah, he was at 209, so I'm assuming they're going to make a change as well.
Oh, that's right. His last attempt was 209 kilos. Yeah, that's a tiny, tiny jump. He is going to increase that barbell. And we imagine Kaidochi will do the same. Just some numbers games playing back and forth here. He's going to make another change.
Yeah, there's always a lot of stuff going on in the back room. It's easy to kind of get sucked into, you know, if you're a spectator, either at the competition or watching online, you basically see what we're looking at right now. You see that competition stage and you forget about the games that are going on in the back. I like to describe it as controlled chaos.
Yes. Yes, and that's something I'm having to learn, Chad. As a competitor, I think you'll agree it's good to have 100% trust in your coach and not worry about what's on the bar, not worry about the numbers. So I used to let my coaches do that. Now I got to figure it out because I'm coaching now.
Absolutely. Coaching, for me, I feel like coaching at a competition is way harder than being the athlete. It's way more stressful.
I agree. Singh Gurdeep, 2nd attempt, 212 kilos. It's a pretty good jerk. Pretty good jerk. I'm seeing a little bit of, maybe a little bit of overextension in the clean. You'll notice he pulls up a lot with his arms. Doesn't really need to do that. A little bit of crashing, and I'm being extremely critical here. Obviously, it's
as you should.
A tremendous amount of weight, and he's a strong guy. That jerk's pretty good. That clean, I think he could tighten up a little bit. Just meet the bar a little bit better.
Absolutely, I agree. And you know, if he can get that solidified a little bit, I think for him that's going to mean more weight down the road. So typically, what you see in competition is probably what is being practiced with heavyweights in training. So it's something that they can take note of and hopefully work on.
Correct. Junior in the category, Anthony Coulet, is coming up for 214 kilos for his 3rd and final attempt. This will be 6 for 6 performance, Chad. Hard to achieve at this level, regardless of whether or not you're a junior or a senior competitor.
No doubt about it. It's very, very impressive from anyone. It doesn't matter the weight that you have on the bar. I don't care what weight you're lifting. It's always impressive. And he's good for it.
Quad just looks a bit too heavy. He gave it a go though, but you just know at some point self-preservation kicks in and your body tells you not to let that fall on you. But he's got to be happy with that. 5 for 6, all 3 snatches, 2 big clean and jerks. Went for a bigger clean and jerk and didn't quite make it, but he had a wonderful, wonderful day. And he's credited with 370 kilos in the total. Now, right now we have Prokhorov coming out for 215 kilos. And another gentleman who has yet to miss a lift. And we have another change. She's going up. And Kaidochi looks like it could be him as the lifter next. Sometimes we kind of just got to wait and see. All right, and Tomas, the Serbian lifter, is coming out. Kaidochi for his 3rd final attempt at 215 kilos.
Yeah, I definitely think this is the right call for him. Like I said, had a struggle day in the snatch, missed his first attempt in the clean and jerk, came back and made a pretty solid lift. So to be conservative with this 5 kilo jump, I think is a good call.
Good job.
I think that's going to be a good lift.
Good job.
Yep. One red light there. But I tell you what, that's impressive to me. I love seeing that. Again, a tough day in the snatches. Missed his opening attempt in the clean and jerk and saves the day. Absolutely. I would be so pleased if I was his coach at what he was able to do there. Junior athlete, being able to keep his head where it needs to be and making that comeback.
Battle a little bit. You can tell his back is hurting a little bit. These athletes train for years and years and have long training cycles, and sometimes you're just beaten up by the end of it. And those little injuries rear their ugly heads at you. All right, Prokhorov, 216 kilos, Germany, 2nd attempt.
Big 9 kilo jump here. Another solid lift for him.
Yeah.
Great job.
That looked pretty good. 3 white lights all across the board.
Yeah, going back to the training that you were talking about, a lot of times you're just kind of at least a little bit beat up or a few little tweaks here and there coming into these big competitions. And I tell people all the time, one of the reasons why I was able to accomplish what I did is just because I survived, where a lot of other people that were probably a little stronger and more talented didn't,
Right.
So that's a big part of it, and just making sure that you're training at the level that you need to be and staying healthy, not being tentative, still being aggressive and doing the things that you need to do to improve, but making sure that you're at the level that you need to be. I see a lot of people, obviously there are a lot more people lifting weights these days than there were back in our heyday, but I see so many people kind of being too far ahead of where they need to be,
Right.
volume-wise.
Right. It takes many years to develop a capacity for this kind of training. And even though I did it for years, when I play around in the gym these days, I've forgotten how hard it is and how long it takes to develop that base. Gurdeep, 3rd and final attempt. He's had a great day, only missed 1 snatch.
Right, and odds right now say he's going to miss this because he did that same pattern on the snatch. And the reason why I say that is because I don't want to put some good vibes out there that he's going to overcome that right now. All
That was
right.
a great, great jerk.
And overcome it he did. 3 for 3 in the clean and jerk there. 5 for 6 on the day. Great performance from him. And he's not too much older than junior age, so he's got a long career ahead of him as well.
Getting back to you know, the training methodology and everything like that for beginners, what have you. I think my philosophy is becoming, as a coach, just to not hurt anybody. Honestly,
Right.
like I've lost so much good training time to injury. And if you have an uninjured athlete, they have a better association with weightlifting. You get more training time. And as a result, you just become a better weightlifter if you stay healthy.
You're going to be forced to train the amount of time that you're going to train anyway, because so you can either train 3 days a week and stay healthy, or 6 days a week and then lose time because you got injured.
Exactly. David Leete, first attempt, 218 kilos.
All right. Continuing with the solid performance that he had in the snatches, 2 for 3 there. Good opening attempt. Interested to see the playback here from the side because he had a few things going on. Going to see only the jerk.
Yeah, a lot of load on that front foot again. Not ideal, but incredibly strong athlete, and he's able to punch it out anyway. Now, we don't have too many clean and jerks left to happen. Let's see, we got 3 that don't belong to Kusera from the Czech Republic. He hasn't even opened yet, but we have 3 remaining from these other 2 competitors, David Leete and Prokhorov. Actually, and they both have moved up in weight. So the lifter, you're looking at him right now, Kamila Kusera, 220 kilos on the bar from the Czech Republic, first attempt. Clock starts as soon as those loaders get off the platform. It's not bad. It's not a bad opener. Could have been a little bit more solid, but let's see what the replay has to say for us. Just a bit forward there.
Very, very short on the dip, but I think that works well for him. He was able to throw it overhead very easily. I think that was, to me, probably nothing other than getting the first attempt out of the way. I think he's going to look more solid on his next attempt.
I agree. We have the 1 kilo automatic increase that happens on the barbell. That's going to change, though. And it looks like David Leete will be coming out for the next clean and jerk. All right, and Leete is the lifter, 222 kilos.
David looked very strong on his opening attempt. As we were talking about, I'd like to see him look a little bit better on the timing of specifically the pull under of the clean and the jerk as well.
just lets it crash there. Comes off the ground super easy, super light for him. You can tell he pulls a tremendous amount of weight. He pops the hips and he just absolutely loses control of the bar.
Yeah, it definitely looked to me exactly the same as the first one. He just wasn't able to um, save it with this weight here. I think he's probably just losing focus at the end. He's not finishing out the lift, I would say.
Right, really important to keep that barbell close. At this weight, if you have crashing or your torso is out of position, not keeping your chest up to receive the barbell properly, what it'll do is what you just saw happen is it kind of clips your chest and kind of spits you out the other way. So really important to keep the barbell close in the finish and keep your chest up as the barbell comes back down on top of you. It's absolutely critical.
Yeah, and really what crashing typically stems from is maybe you get a really good solid pull and good power and extension on the barbell, but you're basically just shooting under the bar after that as opposed to staying connected with it, and that definitely is what's happening here. So hopefully he can make that correction and show us a solid lift on his third attempt.
I agree, and it doesn't look like he's going to ask for any more time. Again, he has the option to add a kilo or two just to get some extra rest time, but it's not going to make too much of a difference here. He's going to try this, which I think is the good call.
Yeah, he really used just about all of the time that he had on the clock earlier. I think he lifted it off the ground with 5 seconds left, and looks like that's going to be the same for this one. As athletes, we typically get consistent in our setup routines and timing.
Right. Gets it. That was a much better attempt. Much better attempt in the clean. He regroups in the jerk. He doesn't rush it. He gets set and he sticks it.
Got great comeback for David, 4 for 6 on the day. Very good performance. And you know, the good thing that missing does is it, of course, makes you aware of where you most need to be aware on the next attempt if you have one, and that's exactly what it did for him.
Exactly. He was able to make that correction and that adjustment and make a successful attempt, and that takes a lot of fortitude. All right, Prokhorov, 225 kilos on the barbell from Germany. Third and final attempt. If he makes this, he has gone 6 for 6. That's always good to see.
He's been so consistent on the day, and he's been consistent in his jumps. 5 kilo jumps across the board on the snatches and 9 kilo jumps here on the clean and jerk.
He just loses focus. Maybe in his mind he was already done. Sometimes that last clean and jerk, especially if you've somewhat accomplished what you wanted to do that day, it's real easy to talk yourself out of it. I know I've done it before, and he simply just clarks it here. Or it could be as simple as just accidentally thinking about what he's having for dinner tonight instead of, you know, it literally could be anything.
Yep.
But he did have a really great day.
Yeah, if you don't stay completely in the moment with these weights, you're not going to have a chance. And solid day for him, 5 for 6. He can't be disappointed. He's still pretty far ahead of the field here, first place in the B session. So we'll see what happens on these last 2 attempts.
Kusera, Czech Republic, 226 kilos, second attempt. He is the only lifter left in the field to clean a jerk. Maybe got called for something. It looked okay. One of the judges and the angle we were looking at, I sort of agreed everything looked okay, but from this perspective, they saw a little too much movement. And again, those judges are sitting in 3 different positions, and the reason why they're doing that is because one judge is not going to see the same thing the other judges see. So that's majority decision. It'll be interesting to see if he wants to remain at this weight.
Yeah, we could tell that that was a no lift before he even finished it out because the horn sounded, which indicated that at least 2 of the judges had given a red light to tell the lifter and everyone else that that was a no lift.
Right, and they can just go ahead and put it back down. Sometimes you'll see a lifter continue to fight for a weight when effectively they could just put it back down and try again. So that's a good indication to the athlete in the audience that it was a no lift.
He does have 1 attempt left. Struggled on the snatches once again, missing his first snatch, making the second, missing his third. Definitely pulling for him to be able to come out with the end on a make here.
And he's going to do this again.
This would put him just over a 400 kilo total. He's still going to be second in the B session here, no matter what.
Looks like a little funny with the foot movement. Maybe jumped out from behind the bar. Anyhow, he wasn't able to come back and get that third clean and jerk. He finishes not such a great overall performance. 2 for 6, but he totals. He remains in the competition, and he'll be on the final placement. And that is it for the men's super heavyweight B session. Looking at the standings here, 3 juniors in the field, a lot of misses. We had a couple athletes attempt to go 6 for 6.